Hey friends, my name's Lisa if we haven't met, and if we have, welcome back to my pottery studio. I am very glad you're here today. Today I'm going to work on solving a common problem that a lot of us deal with if you are a fan of using a Giffen Grip. So I have a couple things I need to trim today. If you've been following along in the last video, I threw a couple planters for a fake plant that I have in the studio that I want to jazz up a little. And I was thinking I'm going to go ahead and use my Giffen Grip to trim these two planters. But if you've ever used a Giffen Grip before, you know that one of the challenges is that it sits up higher on your wheel head, so all of your trimmings come flying off of your wheel and onto the floor and everywhere around you. In the past, I've built a couple of different things to try to mitigate that situation, but I had an idea a little while back and I purchased a couple items off the Amazon to see if I can make a better solution. So I'm gonna work on that before I get started on trimming, and if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. Okay, first let me show you what I've attempted in the past, or what I've used in the past, and for the most part, it actually works pretty well. I got some of this plastic. It was actually scrap that I had. If you've ever purchased those like wire shelves from like the big box stores, in that section you can get rolls of this plastic that you can put on top of the shelves, and then like if you're stacking things or putting things on there, it's not directly on that wire top, it's on this plastic, but it's really just like a thin kind of like pliable plastic material. I just had that scrap extra, and so that's what I used. And then all I did was I rolled out, I don't know, this is maybe like, I can measure it, but it's a couple feet, and I cut it so it would have like maybe half of a section on one side. I used balsa wood that you can get at the craft store, and I initially just glued it on there, and then I ended up putting some staples in it, and so that's what gives it the strength to like stand up. And then you can wrap it around on the outside like this, and on the back side that's facing me, I just used those command Velcro strips, So what I can do is wrap it around, and then I just attach that Velcro and stick it on like that. And it creates kind of a nice barrier, okay? The only issue that I have with this is that while all the trimmings don't go like flying off onto the floor and stuff, when you go to like take it off, they're all kind of like stuck around in here, and then you have to like shimmy it and try to get them all in there, and then they still end up all over on the floor. So this is not a bad solution, I will say. However, I think I can improve upon it. So that's my objective today. One of the things I really do love about this design though is that you can actually roll it up like really, really tight, and so this is really all the space that it takes up. I've seen other folks use like big Rubbermaid tubs that they cut out a thing on the bottom and stuff like that, but then you have to like have room for that big Rubbermaid tub, and like you can't really use it for anything else, and so it's not really multifunctional and takes up a lot of space. So I do like this. So I want still something that will roll up conveniently. But my thought is if it could just somehow fit in the basin, that would be 1,000 times better. So let's see what we can do. My thinking is, so I found another kind of plastic. I will link this if it works, we'll see. So it also feels like it's gonna be stiff enough. I may need to use or take this off, take the balsa wood off of here just to get that same structure. Now, one of the challenges that I have too is that when I'm filming, if I'm filming trimming, I don't want it to be so tall that it's difficult to like have the camera be able to see what I'm doing. And so I don't want it nearly as high as my last one. And I don't think it really needs to be. It just needs to be maybe, I'm gonna try about like maybe half the height that I had before and see if that works. But let's start with, I'm gonna cut this to length. I'm gonna cut it to the same length as this one, even though that'll be a little bit more than what I need. But let's do that first. It's close enough. It's not perfect, but Let's see if the shorter one works. So my thinking, we will try to wrap this around on the inside, and then I've got these little clippy deals that I'm gonna maybe strategically place around. Cut a hole, cut it like a slit in the side, and then I can put that little deal through. Now, the way my basin is, the way it attaches, creates this like lump in the middle. Thought is I will make a mark on it. Then what I'm gonna do is on the inside here, I'm just gonna cut out a little like arch in the plastic so that it will sit over that and it won't like wrinkle up. So I'm gonna have it as flush against the back as I can. So with that, I know that on the inside, this is about where they will line up, and then I'm going to put the Velcro maybe kind of like that. Definitely want to cut it shorter on this side, or cut the width out of this a little bit, because it's going to sit up too high. My arms are going to hit it when I'm trimming. But I think for now, so what I'll do is I'll put these two together like this. Trying to hold this in place so it doesn't move. And I'm going to hope that the stickiness of this sticks to the plastic. It doesn't stick. Oh no. That is not nearly, that's not gonna work. Shoot. Trying to think of what else I can do. I just made marks on here so I didn't lose. Now that I got it lined up, I know exactly where these need to go, but the inherent stickiness of my 3M Velcro isn't going to hold onto this plastic. I could use hot glue, but I don't think over time that's gonna last very long. I could try maybe like an E6000, like a super glue. I did find I have some of this epoxy glue, which is probably strong enough, but I had another thought because my original plan actually, I was thinking I would need to use these clips to like clip from the outside onto the rim. So I was gonna cut little slits in this so I could put these little clips I found over it. And I wonder if I do that, if I actually even need the Velcro. So let me do this as a quick test. Actually, I'm going to use my scrap piece that I already kind of cut and mucked up to see if it works. So my thinking is if I cut like a slit on this, then I can use these clips that I found that have kind of like a rounded, kind of like that. They're just the right size to clip on the edge like that. So let's see. Let's do a quick test. Let's say I cut maybe a 1-inch, something like that. Is that reasonable? Ooh, so that would hold it in place. The other thing I'm thinking about is like, would this be a pain in the butt every time I go to set it up? I don't know. The other thing is, if I have a few of these just kind of around the basin, then when I do take it off, I can just clip it all together like that and a pretty tidy little jig. It'll probably take a little bit more time each time you set up to trim, but I think it's well worth it in the savings on cleaning up after and having clay trimmings everywhere. So, work. All surfaces should be clean and dry and free of grease and oil. Improve rough and smooth surfaces with sandpaper. No sandpaper. Not my smartest move. Okay. I think they're supposed to mix. Right, let's find myself doing some of the most ridiculous things. Ooh, I think it's gonna work though. Is it crazy if it works? I'd love to know what your thoughts are and how you would go about getting Velcro stuck onto something slippery like this. I don't know, I'm feeling good about this, but it's gonna take, well, we're gonna need time for it to set up. Okay, well I got the Velcro now setting on the other side here. The epoxy's still a little wet, so I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and it says it needs a full 20 minutes to cure, so I think we have given it a sufficient amount of time, and it looks like the epoxy's worked. Let's give it a quick test here. So I'll probably just hook it on before I put it in. Ooh! We're looking pretty good. You know what, this plastic is stiff enough that it's just gonna stand up, I think, pretty well on its own. I've got this extra bit here that I'm gonna take off because that's definitely gonna rub against the wheel. So let's do that real quick. The other thing is, I don't want it to be in the way. So let's just pretend I'm at the wheel. Probably cut this side down. I'm gonna use this as a reference. So this sat on the outside. So it still came up over the basin. If I measure and mark over here about 2.5 inches too. Now that I cut that, these are like folding in, so I'm wondering, I may need to go back to my previous solution with the, well, let's see what happens. I think this is still gonna be too tall for recording. See, there's not a lot of clearance between my wheel, between this and the Giffen Grip itself, so it may rub. That's kind of my going in expectation. Ah. It's right here. Okay, okay. A little bit too tight is what the thing is. My Velcro is a little bit too tight. It's kind of adjustable too. I don't even know now if you really need that, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not rubbing. This flapping over might bug me. I would say this is gonna be a success. Well, it is doing a great job catching the trimming so far. It does not need to be this high. I'm probably gonna take it down maybe a good few inches because all the trimmings like hit the Giffen Grip and then fly off out of there. So they're not like shooting off the pot, at least not when I'm trimming. Okay, I trimmed both flower pots. Now the jury's out. So it does work. It's not a bad design, but there's two things that, you know, aren't the best. One is that it does end up taking more space in the basin. And so as your trimmings are collecting up, it's going to clog up faster if you're doing like a lot of trimming in one day, where I would not have that problem with my previous design. So let me show you what that one looked like before. It is convenient. It is easy to roll up and it's easy to kind of store away. All that's good. This one, as you can see, it goes around on the outside like that, and there's, you know, as much room as you can possibly have in the basin to collect trimmings. So it's not really much different than if you were trimming without it, except that obviously it's catching a lot of what's flying off. So that leads me to wonder if there's just a way to modify this one so that clay doesn't get stuck in here and actually slides down into the basin, and maybe that would be a better design. But it was an interesting experiment. It was an interesting test. I'll keep iterating. I think I can make it better. Okay, so a little trial and error there. It's not bad, but I think for me, the wraparound outside option like I had originally is still a better way to go. Thought was maybe, can I still use this dia that creates sort of like an envelope maybe that the basin sort of sits into? I could just, you know, kind of have this here, have my little clip, roll this around like that, like so. Okay. Maybe my original solution wasn't a bad solution. It just didn't need to go all the way in the basin. So friends, I tried a number of different options. I had the idea here that maybe I would go back to having the plastic on the inside of the basin, but just not have it go down as far, not like all the way to the bottom, just like barely kind of go over the basin. And I thought I could use these like wood dowels, these square dowels, to sit on the outside and maybe keep it propped up. Initially, this seemed a little promising, but you'll be able to see here in a second, it just ultimately wasn't going to be a very good option. They wanted to kind of keep falling in, and it was just going to be more of a pain than what it was worth. So then I waffled back to using my original design where it wraps around the outside of the basin, and I thought maybe I'll just tape kind of this plastic skirt to the inside, and then that little skirt piece can kind of flop over into the basin and keep the trimmings, you know, going down and not falling out through the side. The challenge I had with this when I put it on was that plastic was actually too stiff, so it was very difficult, as you can see here, to get it to go over the basin so that it would actually do what I wanted it to do. Okay, new plan. All right, that attempt did not work. It's like the 4th try at this, but I'm feeling really good about the next one. So I remember that I had some cut up old shower curtain that I used. Actually, it's what's on my sink. And I realized just having it doesn't need to be anything super structural or sturdy to go in the basin to catch the trimmings. It just needs to be something to kind of like push it in that direction. And so I'm gonna try this taped to my original solution here. And fortunately, I have a lot of this material. It's pretty long, so I can go all the way around with it. So we're gonna give this a go. And what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna tape it because, well, we don't know if it's gonna work and I might take it off, so, but cross your fingers. I'm just trying to use what I have, so I don't know if you guys had like some canvas or some other kind of material it's a little bit looser, like a little, I don't know. Honestly, you could probably just get a really cheap shower curtain from the dollar store, and I think that would still be worth it if it was only a couple bucks. All right, let's give this a try. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. Okay, that kind of looks like a pillow in there or something. I mean, if that noise isn't gonna bug you. I mean, this could wear out over time with that kind of rubbing against it while it's spinning, but I mean, it'd be easy to replace it if it does. We'll keep the materials on hand. I don't know, I'm kind of liking it. I mean, it's not too bad if you listen. I already trimmed my 2 pieces, so I can't actually like test it, but I can't see why it wouldn't work. I could just kind of go around it when I'm done, shake everything, shimmy it off, and we're good to go. Plus, all the things I liked about my original design is that it rolls up just like this. It doesn't take up any space. I think this might be what I move forward with. All right, friends. Well, I did not expect this to be the adventure that it turned into, but I think I've got a good solution. This is kind of still maybe a prototype. I did order more of this plastic because I want to remake this, but I'm going to stick with this design with the kind of the inside curtain situation. But I do want to, I'm going to redo it just because this plastic's getting old and kind of brittle at the bottom. And then I want to make it a little bit shorter again, like I mentioned, for recording and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be this tall, and it's kind of hard with the camera and stuff. So I am going to remake this. I'm going to just reuse the same balsa wood that I have here. I'm just going to pull it off. And then I've got plenty of this material. So once that comes in, I'm going to make another one, and hopefully that will be my permanent Giffen Grip solution for not having trimmings flying everywhere. So thanks for hanging out with me on this adventure, and I hope that this is helpful for you. I think it would be pretty easy to kind of make these for any wheel. You just want to kind of measure for your own wheel head and adjust accordingly. But it ended up being a much simpler design than what I tried to engineer initially, and I'm pretty psyched with it. So I think it's gonna work. I like this like inside curtain now, and it was a lot easier to solve my problem than what I thought it would be. So anyway, long winded way of saying thank you for being here. It really means a lot to me that you'd hang out with me today. And if you found this valuable, I'd really appreciate if you give me a subscribe. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.